Barney Frank announcing that the House Financial Services Committee has accepted the Senate's proposal to house a new Consumer Financial Protection Agency within the Federal Reserve. Will this be good or bad for American consumers? We want to know. Joining us with some answers, Mark Calabria, Director of Financial Regulation Studies at Cato, and David Rehr, Business Management and Politics Professor at George Washington University. Okay, Mark, I have a feeling I know where you're coming out on this one. You don't think that this goes far enough. Tell me why.
Well, I don't think it's going to be good for consumers. And let me start with my belief that the best thing for consumers is choice and competition. And I think this agency will ultimately reduce competition in consumer finance, and I think it will ultimately raise costs and limit choice. You know, we got a little taste of this with the credit card bill that was passed last year, which promised to be very pro-consumer. And at the end of the day, what are we seeing? We're seeing increases in annual fees. Ultimately, businesses will pass these costs on. In this thing, the Consumer Protection Agency in the Senate bill and the House bill is a litigation nightmare. Most of these litigation costs will ultimately be passed on to the consumer and not borne by the companies. So I think at the end of the day, you're going to see the cost of credit increase, and I think you're going to see the availability and variety of products
decline,
decrease.
Right? Well, the availability, yes, though, of these products perhaps decline in some ways because there's so much regulation. I mean, Mark, one of the things that I noticed in there was the fact that they were going to limit the ability of credit card companies to target college students. Now, in theory, that sounds terrific because it's very unfair that some young people wind up with these huge debts when they don't entirely know what they're getting into. However, if you start to peel back the layers, you've got to ask the question, is it not an individual right? If you're 20 years old and you want to take out a loan to help, pay for your school books in college, shouldn't you have the ability to go and do that without having to go get a signature from your parents, for example?
I would 100% agree. I mean, I'll set aside the moment for the notion that why are we treating somebody who's 19 different from somebody who's 21? I mean, either we should treat you as an adult or we should not, and the law should recognize that. But you're setting up a bifurcated system where, if somebody's wealthy and their parents are willing to sign them their credit card, they're going to be able to get credit. You're also going to encourage students to work. I mean, there's a whole body of literature that says the more a student works outside, the less well they do in their classes. So if you're going to require a student to have a job to get a credit card, more of them are going to work, which means less of them are actually going to graduate. I think what you need to do is...
Sorry, just let me bring David in. David, there are a lot of issues here. Just take a whack. Look, price controls on debtor cards, that's coming out. A lot of people are not happy with that. Car dealer credit. Payday lenders, pawn shops. These are like small-town Main Street credit providers. A lot of people agree with Mark that this thing's going to reduce credit and it's not going to really help anybody. What's your take on this? Is this going to be damaging?
Yeah, I think it is. I mean, I really think that this is all about a kind of a marketing effort in Washington to make people feel safer in terms of the financial community. This is rehashing a 30-year-old consumer product agency that failed in the 1970s and the 1980s.
Mark, come back to you. What's the status, in your opinion, on Too Big to Fail? How close are they getting, or is it just a sham?
Larry, I think it's a sham. I mean, to all due respect, I mean, I want to give them the benefit of the doubt. Where I believe that Senator Dodd and Congressman Frank are coming from is they believe you can't end Too Big to Fail, and the best thing you could do is manage it. And
so
I know they've
in
said
your opinion,
otherwise.
Mark, not going far enough there on the Too Big to Fail aspect.
We are not ending Too Big to Fail in these bills at all. We are further institutionalizing it. We're not ending bailouts either. We're just saying we're giving the regulators more discretion to try to avoid them from happening.
Forgive me, I got to
in the first
interrupt
place.
you right there. Thanks, guys. We've got breaking.